You just threw away a plant that could have fed you for years. Most people do, every single time, without ever knowing. And that one small habit is exactly why so many of us depend on the grocery store for every bite of fruit we eat. But it doesn't have to be that way. Right now, in your home, there are empty windowsills and forgotten corners of light that could be growing real, ripe fruit, while the store charges you more for it every single week. No backyard, no greenhouse, no acres of land. Just a pot, a window, and the right plants. Because the most valuable fruit plants on earth are small enough to live on your shelf, and generous enough to feed you, again and again, for years. That's not a hobby, that's independence, the kind you can taste. Today, I'm counting down 10 high-yield indoor fruits, including a tiny tree at number 10, with more vitamin C than almost anything in your supermarket. A berry at number 2, too delicate for stores to even sell. And the plant at number 1 you just watched hit the trash. Stay to the end, and you'll never look at your kitchen the same way again. Let's begin. Number 10, Barbados cherry. At number 10, we begin with a fruit almost no one in America has ever tasted, and that is exactly why it's so powerful. Meet the Barbados cherry, also called acerola. From the outside, it looks like an ordinary little cherry, small, bright red, cheerful. But inside that unassuming fruit is one of the most concentrated sources of vitamin C on the entire planet. Sit with this for a moment. A single Barbados cherry can hold dozens of times more vitamin C than an orange, ounce for ounce. Not a little more, many times more. Now here's why most people have never even seen one. You will almost never find this fruit in a grocery store, because it bruises too easily to ship. It simply cannot survive the journey. And that's the whole point. The only practical way for most people to eat this fruit fresh is to grow it themselves. The good news? It's built for indoor life. The Barbados cherry naturally grows as a compact shrub. Kept in a container and lightly pruned, it stays small and bushy, happy in a pot by a bright window. Give it as much direct sun as you can, 6 hours or more, and the same warm room temperatures you already keep your home at. If you're just starting out, begin with a young plant rather than seed. A container around 5 to 7 gallons gives the roots room to settle in. It loves warmth and steady moisture, and it will not tolerate frost, which makes it a natural fit for life indoors. And since there are no bees in your living room, just give the open flowers a gentle daily touch with a soft brush to help the fruit set. Now think about the value here. People pay real money for vitamin C. Bottles of supplements, expensive powders with exotic names. This little shrub produces the real thing, fresh, for pennies, and in good conditions, it does it more than once a year. There's something quietly powerful about growing a fruit your neighbors have never even heard of. It's the first small proof that food independence isn't about growing more of what the store already sells. It's about growing what the store simply can't. And before we move on, hold on to this, because later on this list, I'll show you a fruit that produces harvest after harvest from a container barely bigger than a coffee mug. Number 9, the dwarf pomegranate. At number 9, we have a plant that looks less like a food crop and more like something out of a painting. The dwarf pomegranate. While a full-size pomegranate tree can tower over your roof, this variety was bred to stay small, often just 2 to 4 feet tall. That makes it one of the most genuinely container-friendly fruit trees in the world. And here's what most people don't realize. The dwarf pomegranate is self-pollinating. One plant. That's all you need. No partner tree, no orchard, no waiting. It flowers with brilliant, trumpet-shaped orange blooms. The plant is stunning even before the fruit arrives, and those flowers turn into small, deep red pomegranates. It works beautifully indoors because it's compact by nature, it loves sunlight, and it actually appreciates the warm, dry air that most fruit plants hate about our heated homes. Give it a bright, sunny window, with as many hours of direct light as you can, and comfortable room warmth. A container in the 5-gallon range suits a young dwarf pomegranate well, sized up as it matures. Now, one thing that surprises beginners, it's deciduous. So don't panic if it drops its leaves and rests during the cooler months. That's not the plant dying, that's the plant sleeping. It's completely natural, and it's forgiving of the beginner who forgets a watering now and then. Walk into any store and you'll see what a single pomegranate costs, and how much of it you end up throwing away. Now imagine those jewel-like seeds coming off a tree in your own living room, in a variety you'll never find on a shelf. The pomegranate has been a symbol of abundance and prosperity across cultures for thousands of years. There's a quiet dignity in having that ancient symbol of plenty growing right there in your window, a small tree that ties you to gardeners going back 100 generations. Number 8. Ever-bearing strawberries. At number 8, a fruit you already love, grown in a way that changes everything. Strawberries, but not the kind that give you one glorious week in June and then quit. We're talking about ever-bearing and day-neutral varieties, types like Albion, Seascape and TriStar, bred to fruit again and again, continuously, as long as they have light and warmth. Now here's a myth worth breaking. Most people believe strawberries are a spring-only, outdoor-only crop. Not true. Indoors, under steady conditions, day-neutral varieties ignore the seasons entirely. They don't wait for long summer days. They respond to warmth and light. And both of those, you control. That means fresh berries in December, if you want them. They're perfect for indoor life because their roots are shallow and their footprint is tiny. They thrive in shallow containers, hanging baskets, and vertical stacks. You can grow a startling number of plants in a very small space. A container 8 to 12 inches deep, with good drainage, is plenty. The one thing you can't skip is light. A bright south-facing window can carry them in summer. But for real year-round fruit, an inexpensive full-spectrum grow light on a timer, 12 to 16 hours a day, is the secret. And because there are no bees indoors, you become the bee. Just brush each flower gently, or even touch 2 flowers together, and you'll set fruit. Think about the value. A small box of organic strawberries can cost $5 or $6 and vanish in one afternoon snack. A handful of ever-bearing plants under a light can quietly feed a berry habit all year long. And here's the multiplier. Strawberries send out runners, baby plants, on little stems. Root those, and one plant becomes 5, becomes 20. For free. Your garden literally grows itself. Few things carry the feeling of summer like a warm, ripe strawberry. Now imagine handing one to a grandchild in the middle of January and watching their face when you tell them it grew right here, in this room, in the snow. That's not just fruit, that's a memory you're growing. Number 7. Fig tree. At number 7 stands one of the oldest cultivated plants in all of human history, and one of the most surprisingly willing to live indoors. The fig. Varieties bred for containers, like Petite Negra and the beloved Chicago Hardy, stay compact and begin producing while still young and small. Most gardeners overlook it because they assume figs need a Mediterranean hillside and a decade of patience. In reality, many container figs will fruit in their first or second year. And here's the magic. Many common fig varieties are self-fertile, no pollinator needed at all, no hand pollination, no partner tree. The plant does the entire job by itself. It thrives indoors because it's tough, forgiving, and it responds dramatically to sunlight and warmth. Put a fig in the brightest window you have, give it warmth and steady water through its growing season, and it rewards you generously. Start a young fig in a container around 10 to 15 gallons, or size up gradually. Like the pomegranate, it's deciduous. It drops its leaves and goes dormant in winter, which is completely normal, and actually good for it. During dormancy, it barely needs anything. A cool spot and the occasional drink of water. Then, come spring, it explodes back to life. Fresh figs are one of the most expensive fruits in any store. Fragile, seasonal, and often disappointing by the time they reach you, because they simply don't ripen well off the tree. A fig picked at the peak of ripeness from your own plant is a completely different food. You genuinely cannot buy that experience. The fig appears in the oldest stories humanity ever wrote down. To grow one is to plant a living thread that runs all the way back to the very first gardens. Care for it well, and it can outlive you. A piece of edible heritage you pass forward. Now, stay with me, because the plant sitting at number 1 is one you may have thrown in the trash just last week. Number 6. The dwarf banana. At number 6, we bring the tropics indoors. And yes, this one really does produce real bananas. The dwarf Cavendish banana. Despite the name dwarf, this is a bold, dramatic plant, with huge paddle-shaped leaves that turn a room into something out of a jungle. But it was bred to stay manageable, roughly 4 to 8 feet indoors, depending on its pot and its light. Here's something most people don't know. A banana isn't a tree, it's a giant herb, and it grows astonishingly fast. Under the right conditions, a single plant will send up a flower stalk and produce an entire hand of bananas. Dozens of fruit from one plant. Most people never try it because they assume bananas are impossible outside the tropics. But inside a warm home with bright light, the dwarf Cavendish is genuinely happy, and it doesn't need a pollinator because Cavendish bananas form their fruit on their own. Now let me be honest with you, this is the most demanding plant on our list so far. It needs at least 6 hours of direct light a day, steady warmth above 65 degrees, and humidity around 50% or higher. It grows so fast that a young plant may need repotting 2 or 3 times in its first year, and it asks for patience. Expect around 9 months of steady growth before a flower stalk appears, then another 2 to 3 months for the fruit to mature. But here's the beautiful irony. Bananas are one of the cheapest fruits at the store, and also one of the most heavily controlled, chemically treated, and long-shipped crops on Earth. Picked green, gassed to ripen. A banana ripened on the plant, in your own home, is something almost no American has ever tasted. This one isn't about saving money, it's about tasting the real thing. And there's a psychology to this plant that I love. It turns a corner of your home into a statement, a living declaration that food doesn't have to come from far away. Sometimes independence starts as a feeling, and this plant gives you that feeling every single time you walk past it. Number 5. Passion fruit. At number 5, we reach a plant that doesn't just feed you, it stops you in your tracks. Passion fruit, the purple variety. Its flower is one of the most extraordinary blooms in the entire plant kingdom, a burst of white and violet that looks almost architectural, and each of those flowers can become a fruit packed with sweet tart, aromatic pulp. Here's what makes it so smart for a small space. This is a vine, which means it grows up. It takes almost no floor space, just a pot and a trellis, and then it climbs, covering a window frame or a wall in green, producing fruit along the way. Growing vertically is how you get serious harvests from a tiny footprint. Now, the purple passion fruit is partially self-fertile, meaning a single vine can set fruit on its own. But here's a practical tip that dramatically changes your results. Indoors, without insects, hand-pollinating isn't just helpful. It can increase your fruit set many times over compared to leaving the plant to fend for itself. A soft brush and 2 minutes of your time can multiply your harvest. This is a vigorous, hungry plant. It wants a large container. Think 15 to 20 gallons for a mature vine, a sturdy trellis to climb, bright light, steady moisture, and warmth. Give it those things, and it grows with almost startling enthusiasm. Passion fruit is a premium item. Small, pricey, and often hard to even find fresh. Its pulp shows up in expensive juices, desserts, and cocktails. Growing your own turns a luxury into something you simply reach up and pick. Some plants feed the body. This one also feeds something else, that quiet human need to be surrounded by beauty. When a passion flower opens in your living room, you remember that self-sufficiency was never meant to be grim or joyless. It can be gorgeous. Number 4. Calamondin orange. There is an almost unbelievable thing about calamondin orange. It flowers and fruits year-round. At any given moment, the very same little tree can hold fragrant white blossoms, tiny green fruits, and ripe orange ones, all at once. It's a plant that never really stops giving. It's self-fertile, so one tree is all you need. It's uniquely tolerant of the dry indoor air that kills most citrus. And it's compact, genuinely built for a container by a window. Its fruit is tart, somewhere between a lime and a tangerine, wonderful in cooking, marmalades, drinks, and dressings. Most Americans have never even heard of it, for one simple reason. You can't buy the fruit in stores. It's grown almost entirely as a potted plant, which means, once again, the only way to have it is to grow it. It's a gentle plant to care for. Give it a bright, sunny window. A south-facing spot is ideal, and average room temperatures between 65 and 75 degrees. Water when the top of the soil dries, and never let it sit soggy. And because it lives indoors away from bees, a gentle daily brush of the open blossoms during flowering will give you the fullest crop. Expect it to begin producing well in its second year, and then keep going, essentially forever. Think of it as a perpetual citrus machine. Instead of buying limes and small oranges again and again, and watching half of them mold in the fridge before you get to them. You snip exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. Straight off a tree that's already flowering for the next batch. A tree that is always blooming, always fruiting, always alive. There's a kind of reassurance in that. In a world where so much feels uncertain, having something in your home that simply keeps providing, month after month, is a quiet form of security. One you can see and smell and taste every single day. Number 3, dwarf Meyer lemon. At number 3, the plant that, for millions of indoor gardeners, is where the whole journey begins. And for good reason. The dwarf Meyer lemon. Now here's a little secret. It's not actually a true lemon at all. It's a cross between a lemon and a mandarin, which is why its fruit is sweeter, softer, and more fragrant than anything you'll ever find in a supermarket. Chefs prize it, and it happens to be one of the most reliable, rewarding fruit trees you can keep indoors. It's self-pollinating. One tree, no partner. It can fruit nearly year-round, with a heavy flush in the cooler months, right when you crave fresh citrus the most. And a grafted dwarf tree can begin bearing fruit in as little as 1 to 2 years. Bred to stay small, it fits a container beautifully, and its glossy leaves and intensely fragrant blossoms make it a genuinely beautiful houseplant even between harvests. The scent alone, when it blooms, an entire room fills with the smell of citrus flowers. The one rule that matters most here is light. A Meyer lemon wants at least 8 hours of direct sun a day, a bright, south-facing window, backed up with a grow light through the darker months. Start a young tree in a pot around 12 inches across. Use a well-draining citrus mix, keep the humidity up around 50%, and water it thoroughly, but let the top inch or two dry out between drinks. Indoors, a gentle shake or a brush of the blossoms helps set a full crop, though it will often manage that on its own. Lemons are one of those quiet grocery expenses that add up relentlessly. A couple of dollars here, a bag there, all year long. A single healthy tree replaces all of it and gives you a better lemon than money can buy. This is the clearest edible asset on the whole list. A modest one-time cost, then years of fruit. The Meyer lemon is often someone's very first fruit tree, and it has a way of changing people. The first time you make a glass of lemonade, or a dressing, or a dessert, from fruit you grew yourself, something clicks. You stop feeling like a customer, and you start feeling like a caretaker. That shift is the real harvest. Number 2, ever-bearing mulberry. The dwarf ever-bearing mulberry was bred to stay small enough for a large pot, yet with an almost outrageous appetite for producing fruit. The name says it all, ever-bearing. Instead of one short season, a healthy container mulberry produces fruit over an extended stretch, dropping wave after wave of sweet, dark berries that taste like a cross between a blackberry and a subtle, honeyed grape. It's self-fertile, so a single plant fruits on its own, and it begins producing young, often in its very first year in a pot. So why does almost no one grow it? Because mulberries are so soft and perishable that the commercial food system essentially pretends they don't exist. There's no money in a berry that bruises the moment you look at it. But that so-called flaw becomes completely meaningless when the plant is 3 feet from your kitchen and the walk from branch to bowl takes 10 seconds. Give it a large container, the brightest light you can offer, a very sunny window, or a grow light, and regular water through its growing season. It's tougher and far more forgiving than its delicate fruit might suggest. Prune it to keep it compact and bushy, and that pruning actually encourages even more fruiting wood. You genuinely cannot put a store price on this one, because it isn't sold anywhere. It's a fruit that exists almost entirely for the people who grow their own, and that is the purest definition of food independence there is. Eating something that money simply cannot buy. There's an old truth among gardeners. The best fruits are the ones the world forgot, because it couldn't figure out how to sell them. The mulberry is the crown of that idea. To grow it is to reclaim a flavor that was common for our great-grandparents and has quietly vanished from modern life. Which brings us, at last, to number 1. The plant you have almost certainly held in your hands, eaten, and thrown the best part of, straight into the garbage. Number 1, pineapple. Here's the secret almost nobody knows about pineapples. That leafy green crown you slice off and toss in the trash every time you buy a pineapple is a complete, living plant. Twist it off, let it dry for a couple of days, set it in soil, and it will root and grow, and one day produce a brand new pineapple. Think about that for a second. The single most common thing people do with a pineapple, throwing away the top, is throwing away a plant that could feed them for free. And it's the perfect indoor food plant. A pineapple is a compact, spiky rosette that needs no partner, no pollination, and no large container to fruit. It's a tropical plant that's genuinely comfortable in the warmth of your home. It asks for very little. It doesn't sprawl, it doesn't vine. It just sits in its pot in the light and slowly builds toward a single, spectacular fruit right in its center. Now let me be honest about one thing. This is a lesson in the long game. Root the crown in a small pot with light, well-draining soil, keep it warm, and give it bright light. Several hours of direct sun, or a grow light. Roots form in the first few weeks. Then it grows, and grows. A pineapple usually takes 2 to 3 years to produce its fruit. That sounds long until you remember the plant costs you nothing, asks almost nothing, and the waiting is really just a beautiful plant living in your home, for free, the entire time. And here is the whole philosophy of this video, in one single fruit. Every other plant on this list you had to buy. This one, you get from the garbage. It is the ultimate symbol of the producer mindset, taking the thing the consumer world calls waste and recognizing it for what it truly is, the beginning of your next harvest. Buy one pineapple, eat it, plant the top, and you may never need to buy another. And that is why it had to be number one. Because food independence, at its deepest level, isn't about spending more or working harder. It's about seeing differently. It's looking at the thing everyone else throws away and understanding that it was never trash at all. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. Your whole kitchen starts to look like a garden, waiting to happen. Tell me in the comments, what growing zone are you in, and which of these 10 fruits are you going to grow first? I read them, and I love seeing where this community is planting from all across the country. If this video changed the way you see your own home, do me one small favor, hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this reach other people who are ready to start growing their own food. And subscribe and ring the bell, because this is exactly the kind of self-reliance and food independence we explore here every single week. Until then, go find your one pot. Your independence is closer than you think.